Welcome to Margin Business Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. In today's episode, we have a very special guest. Her name is Dr. Sandra Colton-Medici. She is a serial entrepreneur, a digital marketing expert, and an online course creator. And she is the host of Sweet Bytes with Sandra. Welcome, Sandra. One more thing. As always, please hit the subscribe button and give us a thumbs up if you like our content. Thank you that you have joined us today. Sandra, should I call you Sandra or Dr. Sandra?
Oh, Sandra's fine.
Okay, that's perfect. Perfect. So yeah, thank you for joining us. And so where are you actually located? Because I can see that it's like 11 a.m. in your time zone. So
I am in Los Angeles, California.
okay, that's good. All
Yeah.
good. So Los Angeles right now. Have you always been in Los Angeles, or is this? Usually what we do, we go over your story a little bit. We just want to see where your entrepreneurial spirit comes from, because I won't go into detail now, but there is a lot of things what you have in your background that we can use for the audience for concerning entrepreneurial skills, entrepreneurial spirit, books, everything. But let's go to this at a later point. So I just wanted to start with your story, how you grew up, and maybe even you can tell us something which you say like, whoa, yeah, you're right. There was something what I was thinking about being an entrepreneur already very early. So yes, tell us.
So as a young person, I actually did not grow up in LA. I was born in Iowa.
Oh, okay.
So if anybody in Germany or around the world, whoever's watching, Iowa is in the middle of the United States.
I know Iowa.
And I didn't live there for very long. I moved when I was 3.
Okay.
My mom, my sister, and myself, we all moved to California. We moved to the Bay Area, which is closer to San Francisco.
Okay.
And so I lived just outside of San Francisco in this little town called Millbrae. And it basically is where everybody flies into San Francisco, where the SFO airport is. That's basically where I lived. So for me, I didn't think about being an entrepreneur when I was, a little kid. I always felt like I was, inspired to do things, good things. I always kind of just wanted to be a teacher and help other people, which is kind of why I do what I do now. But my sister and I, at a very young age, were dancers, and we were really, we were skilled enough to be considered professional dancers. And so we would perform at different concerts, events, and we ended up having our own specialty act. And when I say specialty, I say that because we were tap dancers first, and tap dancers technically are considered kind of a specialty in the dance world, because not everybody is a tap dancer. So it's kind of a gift and a curse, if you will, to have a skill. And I know that a lot of entrepreneurs can probably identify with that. Like, you've got that really niche thing that, not a lot of other people have. It's almost like being a knife creator, like those people that you see on TV. Yeah. Like, that's a special skill, but not everybody needs a knife, right? As far as like those really like nicely crafted ones. So for me, I kind of just, grew up being an entertainer. Okay. And to me, that wasn't necessarily in the sense of where I got to be in my later years, where I was an entrepreneur. Like, when you're in LA dancing and singing and acting, you are, you're a business person. You are your own, publicist, your own talent rep, your own, makeup, hair, and, all of that stuff. You are all of those things in one, and you're going out and getting gigs. So for me as a young person, I just kind of thought it was fun, and so that fun thing, which I think a lot of entrepreneurs realize can end up being a career, and so for me, that's kind of what happened. I got good at doing that whole dance thing and parlayed that into a professional career at a very young age. So my sister and I, we were on Star Search when I was 13. And as a young kid, that's like super huge to be on TV in like a massive way. And we won the whole thing. So we got to be teen dance champions on Star Search. And so for me, that kind of brought home a little bit of the I don't know, the little stardom bug, if you will, like the little itch to kind of be on stage and do that for a living. I had a backup plan. I went to college. I did that whole thing.
Okay.
But I
Nice. Well done.
never, yeah, so I went on to, go to college. I went to University of Oregon. I got my undergraduate in sociology and journalism. And so I did the backup plan because my
Okay.
mom, she's like, go get a degree. You never know this whole entertainment thing, what it's about. But I really thought that, having both sides was beneficial. And a lot of people, they don't go to college and that's fine. And they find their route another way.
Okay.
But for me, I found my footing going back to entertainment and doing the hustle, doing the side gigs, doing that whole thing, to really figure out that it really was a combination of the two where I found the most joy.
Okay.
So I'm going to stop there because I don't want to go too far into.
Don't worry. But from what I've seen, what you said is, because I read a little bit about I read your resume a little bit. If I understood correctly, you said when you were 3 years old, you always wanted to be a teacher, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
at the end, you ended up being a teacher.
Yes. I mean, it's kind of crazy that, in a little bit of a way, when you're an entrepreneur, you are somewhat teaching yourself, the skills every once in a while. You don't always have that mentor that's going to, tell you how to do it. So you kind of just find a way to tinker around and find the YouTube videos to get you to the next place or whatever. But I did end up being a teacher. Right. So I feel like there's a way that you kind of always know what you want to be when you're young, but you may or may not get there in a straight line, right? There's that that thing that happens where you just gotta try it, that whole trial and error thing that you need to go through, and that's just part of life,
But still, for me, it's amazing because I think it's the first time. But I think for me, it's really the first time that I heard somebody who say at 3 years old, he want to be a teacher and really done it. And not only just a teacher, you really like, not for first grade or second grade. It's really like, if I understand correctly, in university, right?
Yeah. So I taught at USC and in their school of dance. And I also, beyond university, like I've taught at a lot of different studios and things outside of university, but I did teach at USC. I've also guest lectured at a few other universities as well. And for me, higher learning was always where I wanted to be. I didn't, I've taught 3 and 5 year olds how to tap. But retention is a problem, right? So I always wanted to be challenged.
For smaller children, it's really special.
Right, exactly. And so I always wanted to be challenged. I always felt like really invigorated by being around a college or university atmosphere because everybody seemed to have hope. There was a lot of hope. There was a lot of inspiration. There was a lot of, it doesn't matter if that failed. We can do it again. There was that kind of like fearlessness that you have when you're like, I'm 22, I'm cool. Like, it's okay if this experiment, flops because we'll just, we'll implement this solution next time. Yep. Like that attitude, I just really was like, I need that kind of, that ability to look beyond instead of just like, okay, that's a failure. You know what I mean? But to go, wow, let's get, Susie in here. She knows more about this, or let's get so-and-so, because the community aspect of it was really invigorating to me. Okay. And I always love that kind of aspect of building businesses when you have a lot of ideas going on, a lot of idea generation, a lot of people feeling creative and the juices are flowing, instead of feeling like, okay, this is the hard deadline, this is, the budget, this is the whatever.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. Because that can clutter a lot of the innovation. If you set a cap on something, and if you look at things in a way that you're really just going into it just kind of like for the fun. Right. If you look at it from the fun aspect, you're like, okay, we're all going to come together. We're going to get coffee. We're going to chill. We're going to, figure it out. And maybe something will happen. Like, that's where I'd love to live, is in that space. Obviously, we all have deadlines and we all have, things to get over.
But
if you can get in that pocket, that's a great place to be. I feel like Elon Musk lives in that pocket.
Correct. It's the discipline, that you,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that's why as well, when I've seen what you're doing and your whole resume, that's the whole discipline as well. So
Mm-hmm.
when you, for example, when you have been in college or before in high school, there must have been already some real discipline part of the dancing career.
Mm-hmm.
Normally there is either you are very strong in languages or you are very strong in maths. So, and there are some people in between, you know, but it's
Yeah.
super rare, you know, but normally it's these kind of both of ways where it's usually
Mm-hmm.
going. So do you remember something like where was it taking you?
Yeah. So for me, I think, I mean, I was strong in both. I mean, in high school, I was in algebra 2 trig and, you know, I was doing all of that. I hate math. I have a calculator for a reason,
Yes,
you know,
I mean, like,
but
yeah.
I did it and I excelled at it. And I was in, you know, chemistry 2 AP and I did all of those things, but it wasn't cool for me. Like that wasn't like my gig. And
Okay.
so I excelled obviously in the arts and I was really good at journalism. You know, I was a good writer.
Ah, right.
And in high school, I wrote a lot of poems that I ended up putting into a collection called Poetry Palette. And so that I think is kind of like my first book that I ever wrote. But it really wasn't a book. It was just a book of poems. And so I excelled on the other side, but I always was very interested, very intrigued by people in the sciences who could, you know, do coding or, you know, back in the day, I think we were all kind of making fun of people who were going to go to ITT and doing all this like technical trade, whatever. And then we all got laughed at, you know, when the .com thing happened and they were like, hey, I'm a millionaire. You know, I was like, I should have done that.
Yeah.
But I think that for me, I leaned heavily into the communication side because I had that experience on stage. And I felt like the sociology that I studied in school, I was really interested in how people think and how people interact and how cultures use their traditions to either welcome in someone or shun a family member or whatever it is that happens within certain societies. I thought that those were really important to study because they don't, you know, they evolve and they shift and they move with whatever new technology happens and how people are interacting, whether it's on the phone or they see people on FaceTime or all of that. Just the interactions with people was really fascinating to me. And so I kind of got to see a little bit of that in college. I should say my first time around in college. And that I think I used to my advantage when I went into performing arts as a career, because I knew how to interact with people and I kind of understood where they were coming from because I had studied it, right? And a lot of times people say, you know, you can't really understand people unless you walk in their shoes. But if you're really studying something, you know, for the purpose of really understanding where people come from, then you can identify to a certain extent to give them that leeway to say, okay, well, we have this commonality. Let's break bread. Let's have a conversation and let's share. And then they feel okay about sharing. And I think that that's a really important aspect of being in business, is being able to know when to pull back and be a listener, right?
Yeah, it's true. It's true. That's I agree completely with that, because you know, when you normally in the US, it's very like people. It's a very big country, and there is what is it, 280 million at the moment. So
It's a lot.
it's you know, it's very big. You don't even have to go anywhere else. You know, so.
Right.
So it's different from here in Europe, for example. When you study people, you can study your neighbor is 800 kilometers, 600 kilometers away, is a complete different culture, you know.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
and this makes it different here. So this in the US, there is many people who are already very interested in other cultures, you know, and this gives this diversity and the you know, when they travel and come bring everything back and bring the knowledge back and study like yourself. I think it's super important, and it's really amazing when this happens, you know. So just blowing up with all the cultures in their head, and if you on top of it speak the languages. If you speak, for example, 5-6 European languages, you're good to go. It's you can even understand the culture. You know, you're thinking like them because you speak the language. So it's something really amazing. And for example, in your family, Was there any type of entrepreneurial background or anything?
No.
Where did your skills coming from? This is
I mean, my mom is a nurse, and she has always liked to have, the steady paycheck, and a lot of people do. And that's why a lot of people don't step out on their own.
It's a big trap. Yes.
Right. But she's always been really big on education, and she has her master's and is working on her PhD right now too. And I'm like, what? Wow. But I think that it's always kind of pushed my sister and I to be better, because she was valedictorian of her high school and I wasn't, but I was always trying, like really hard to kind of achieve that. And I think that, that kind of inner push, I think, is really important for entrepreneurs to know that they can best themselves. They don't have to best anybody else, but they can best themselves. And that just means, working a little bit harder every day, working to be a little smarter with your decisions. But I didn't have a business person to follow, like in their footsteps
or something. Yeah.
No. Well, I mean, I've had teachers along the way, and some because in entertainment, you work with a lot of different people on every job. So it's really hard to say, like, I worked with, one person throughout my entire career. I've had agents that have been mentors that I've reached out to a lot and said, I'm looking to do, an album. How do you think I should go about that? Who should I be, seeking out? And so my agent, I've actually had for maybe 15 years. So I've reached out to her even most recently and said, I'm podcasting now. I need a voiceover agent. Like I need to get this going. I need to be a Disney character at some point, and because that's me. I'm like, hey, why not? There's voiceover, meaning like
for
radio,
other characters, for Disney,
for other people. Yes. So playing, a Disney, princess's mom or something in a movie or something like that, or even doing commercial voiceover work. Whether it's for like
still something you do right now, for example.
I don't do that, but I need to.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. Like, that's.
I think when you talk in the podcast, it's without an image or anything. It's really super professional. I was like, okay, that's really good. I can learn from your skills as well. So it's really good.
Thank you.
Just the intro, you worked on this really good, and as well the commercials inside and everything. It sounds amazing, really.
Oh, and that's all done from my house, so just imagine if I was like in a studio, right? So that's kind of what I'm thinking is, I would love to, put a reel together and put that out there. And that's, we were talking about mentors. I reached out to my agent and said, I'm doing this podcast and I'm really loving it. And I have all of this content as examples of what I can do, whether it's a commercial copy or, whatnot. I would love to have a voiceover agent to present myself in that capacity, for a Disney princess mom or, or whatever.
I could see you in a role like this, for when I see Shrek or something like that.
Yes. Exactly. So, for me, like I was telling you, besting yourself, that's kind of like when I get into something, I'm like, hey, I've kind of solidified what my style is. Yeah. Why not parlay that into something else? It's a complete industry that I've just, hopped into feet first. And I think a lot of people can do that when they get into an industry and they've really solidified where they are at, that they can go, okay, well, now what else is out there? And that's really the part that a lot of people sometimes do the backwards way, which is, I want to do it all, instead of finding their lane, getting really good at it, and then going, okay, now how can I transition that? And I think that is really important as an entrepreneur to know, like, hey, I'm good at A, B, and C. I'm going to focus on A, B, and C. And then, okay, in a year, I'll focus on that D, E, and F. You know what I mean? And really transition so that you are an expert in one. Yeah. And then you can say, okay, now I'm going to pivot and I'm going to use that expertise and I'm going to open up this door over here. Okay. Right.
So we go now directly into another topic, which I wanted to talk with you about as well, about focus.
Yes.
focus is, wow. Focus is another level. I was listening, not long, maybe a week ago or something, a podcast, Huberman. I'm sure you, it's a neuroscientist, and he's talking about focus a lot.
Okay.
He
I'll
was
have
a
to look it up.
skater or something before, and crazy life story, and shifted, and from Washington DC. Just if you write it down later on, I give you the name. Just
Yeah.
neuroscience. He's talking a lot about focus, and obviously there is people who have no problems with focus. There's people who have a lot of problems with focus, and I am one of the people who need to focus a lot, and I get very, very easily distracted. So
Yes.
What would be your message? Because there is plenty of people, because today with our internet, we have Facebook open, we have this open, we have that open, you get an email, you get a call, kids are crying, it's like all day long there is something going on. So what would be a message to everyone? I mean, how to ameliorate all of this, your behavior. Obviously you cannot just close down and close the door, and because there is always things which have to be done, you have to be present in both worlds. You cannot just check out.
Yes. Well, so I think that the first thing that I've learned just in talking with different business leaders is to turn off notifications is a really important thing, because on your phone, right, it will keep dinging. And you can use block scheduling. I've found that has really been able to help me focus in on one thing at a time. Is if I say, okay, I'm going to spend the next 30 minutes just in this, scheduling social media or something. Okay, focus on that. No matter what happens, if a ping comes in for a clubhouse or a this or that, focus on that thing. And then you actually feel a little bit more accomplished because you know that you've dedicated these blocks of time. And then when your day is done, your 8 hours or whatever you're putting in, you can pull back. And I think that sometimes people forget that, your focus is only as straight lined and to the point as you let it be, right? If you allow yourself to get distracted, then you will be distracted. Sometimes it's a, more of a physiological thing, right? But if you can train or retrain yourself to be a little bit more focused by creating the schedule that's going to have you locked into something at a certain time, then I think that that's beneficial. What I do like to look at is when you're putting away your phone at night, putting it away for good. And that means put it in another room. Okay. Because if it's on your nightstand, you're going to look at it, right? If it's there, it's going to be something that's going to pull you in. And rest is really important for people to get if you're unfocused, because if you don't get good sleep, then your brain is still kind of like this. The other thing is getting those blue light glasses. Because I found that when you're looking at your phone screen or the computer screen, and it's that constant, barrage of whatever it is, that light that's coming in, then your brain is already like crunching on this, and so you're not thinking as clearly as you should. Right. So you've got notifications, you've got scheduling out for productivity, you've got blue lights so that you're not constantly fighting yourself just physically, and getting some rest at night and turning it off, like literally turning it off.
Yeah, that's usually what I'm doing as well. And what I ask people as well, when they talk to me, I would tell them as well, I mean, this is not the main problem. And I think, but many people have this problem with the telephone, For example, as well, when some people focus or they have no focus, on the other hand, they're very disciplined in sport, for example. There's so many different type of people which you have. You cannot just say, yeah, this one is not focused. He can, there is no cure or something, or this one is very focused and they cannot focus in sports, or they need to sleep longer, or it's completely random, and this is what is so fascinating about the brain.
Yeah, I mean, it is something that is probably, scientific somehow as to why we're focused in one way versus not in another. But I do think it has to do with retraining yourself,
Yes.
to want to be focused in an area. Like I have a book that I've been reading, and if it's long, I'm like, oh God, like
I know.
give me the cliff notes, but
or podcast, listen to it, or
Right. And so I have, set aside, and I've said, okay, I'm going to read 33 pages of this book every single day. So I'm done with it within the month. Yeah. And so that's me telling myself, like, you set this goal out for yourself. You're the only one who wants that goal to be achieved. Like no one else is going to do it for you. So there's no point in putting out a goal that you already know you're self-sabotaging, right? Yes, exactly. And so if you want it, you will focus, right?
Yeah, it's true. At the same time, when you just mentioned now the little steps, the 33 pages, and then you get done in 1 month, we go to motivation directly, because this is motivation for the mind, that you can go every day. Wow, I did 33. Tomorrow I do 33, and at the end of the month, I've done the book. And when you have done the book, and you say, "Hey, listen, it's not too bad. I could even do 52 books a year. So let's."
Right. That's amazing. And I actually found this this app called Blinkist. I don't know if you've heard of it.
I know the app. I didn't sign up with them. But I know the app.
Yeah, so it's kind of like your cliff notes, if you will, of each kind of the good parts of each book, and sometimes shortcasts, I think they're called, for podcasts. So
okay, yeah. No, it's interesting because now when we're moving to motivation, in general, because entrepreneurs, obviously they are very motivated. Yeah, most of the entrepreneurs, I would say, getting up very early, getting stuff done. And normally work throughout the day, not always working in their business, working for their business. Sometimes even a family. It's work. How can I say it? The work is always there. You understand? It's not always like you need to work in your company. There is other things to do. Yeah. But entrepreneurs are always busy. Yes. So how would you, or what advice would you give somebody who is not an entrepreneur yet and want to do the jump, and he's normally 8-9 o'clock type of people who's getting up a bit later because the 9 to 5 teach them so, weekend they don't do anything. What would be your message to them, for example, how they could change this?
Well, I would say I used to be that person. So, and I was a little later because in entertainment, you don't really go to an audition before 11 o'clock. So, and you stay up in the middle of the night because, for me, like I'm a night owl, I have creative moments in the middle of the night. So I would say you need to set out some goals for yourself. If you're thinking about being an entrepreneur, think about what kind of business you want to have, because if you're not invested completely in that business, you probably won't create it. Yeah. And I actually gave an example of this in a podcast recently. I interviewed the Entertainment Tonight correspondent. Her name is Kelsey Knight. And I said, she was thinking about creating a greeting card for her line for the Lady Gang podcast. And I said, I wanted to be in the greeting card business a long, long, long time ago, because I thought I had these like catchy lines, for greeting cards, and I never did it. And she said, it's right. You have to be fully invested in this idea. You can sit on a couch and ponder what it would be like to have this kind of business. But if you are not really gung-ho about an idea, it's not going to happen. So if you want to be an entrepreneur, you really need to set out, what is your idea for a business? And what about that is going to really hold you in that business for a long period of time? Because you can't just flash in the pan and expect, overnight success. Like that just doesn't happen. Even with people who you think are overnight successes, it could be Beyonce's career. And you're like, oh yeah, she just, hit it one day. I'm like, no, this girl was singing in high school in her, in her girl group. So it's really a matter of, finding out what you love, and then realizing that you have to do the research to see if there's a market for what you love to do. Because you might have a great idea, you might have had the first Swiffer but it might not have been something that was needed. People may not have, wanted that in their life. So you might take it to market and nobody buy it, right? So it's really about setting out an idea for what you want to do, testing to see if the market is something that is needing it, because there's no reason to go into business with that product if there's no one who's going to buy it, right? For me, this is something that I can say personally, I'm going into a similar place, which is not that I'm starting a business for the first time. This is something that I'm launching in May. It's called College of Style. Now, I have looked at the market and said, okay, there's a ton of course creators. And there's a ton of people who've niched down, right? I'm a Facebook ads course creator, and I'm an Instagram, hacks course creator, and I'm a funnel course creator, and all of these things, right? And there's a ton of people who have pigeonholed themselves into all these different course creator roles. And there's a ton of people like myself who have taken courses and have gone through them. And at the end, they're like, okay, now what do I do? Yeah. Right? You've learned all of this stuff. And you're like, now what do I do? Like, I don't know where to start. Like, that's great information, but how do I do this? And so I am creating this thing that's happening in May called College of Style. But when I looked at the market, I thought, wow, there's all these course creators who went through all of these courses and still don't know what to do, right? And the part that baffles me, and when I've kind of done in, market research, is they're really creating a course. They're creating a digital product. They're not creating a brand.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, very
like
good.
when I go to Walmart, when I go to Target, when I go to, I love the feeling. Like, I love that shopping feeling, but I love Target, right? Yeah. I don't love 14 different products in Target is the reason, you know what I mean? Like, they have products, right? But the brand of Target is where I'm going, right? And that's where I found that course creators or content creators have not built brands. And that's the market hole that I'm going to fill. And that's where I've kind of set out to say, okay, you need to take what you've done, your digital product, and not just sell Facebook leads or, lead generation. You need to sell you. Who are you? Why are you relevant? Why should we trust you? And that personal brand or business brand, whatever it is something that everyone should be working on. So in your question, you're saying, where should you get started? Number one, what's the idea? Number two, are you willing to take the idea a long way, right? Are you committed to it? And then find out, is it necessary? Is it relevant? Is it something that's going to serve a need that is really happening at the moment? And then you can go, obviously testing from there.
But, it's as well, then we come to the last point, it's as well passion. Because, when we have passion, it's we have focus, we have motivation. And if we finalize this and wrap it up with passion, this is a rolling, it cannot miss. So when you have passion at the end, something where you're really standing behind, something you might have done for all your life and you don't even realize that that you have this in you. You're like, oh yeah, that's something I really can do,
Yeah.
So this is, and then the passion, which wakes you up in the morning at 4 or 5 o'clock, and and you just,
or it doesn't let you go to sleep at night, right?
Yeah, exactly. You not even sleeping, and you think about it, you live it, you dream it, you eat it, you everything. It's the same as for example, what I'm telling people all the time as well when they sell on Amazon. They should not just think that there is that it's like, I put my products on and that's it. No, you have to. It's like trading. It's like everything what you do in life, you need completely to submit yourself to it. It's and the best would be that even your partner or your wife is in there as well and does the same thing as you, because then if it's not the same, then somebody pulls you back. That's right. As well an issue in the whole process. So that's exactly what I wanted to say as well for the last point, for the passion. It's you definitely need to have a passion to wake up in the morning and say, yay, that's what I'm going to do. And for whom you're doing it as well, because if you wake up and you're doing it, only for yourself or for money, for example, after a little time, it's not interesting anymore, because money comes along when you have passion in your work, in your whole lifestyle and everything. Then the money will come as well. So at some point, the money, then you need to have a plan, to that the money, when the money comes, what you're going to do next, it's because that's where most people get stuck, then it's like, okay, I have the money, what's now?
Yeah. Well, and my mom always said to us, my sister and I, she always said, you can always make money.
Exactly.
Like, it's not like a thing. And I know that sounds really like harsh for someone who may have never had their first job or something like that. But there are always opportunities out there. And I have, taken some opportunities during the middle times when I haven't been, working for myself, where I had to take a job that I, just paid the bills, right? Okay. But it makes it more worthwhile when you understand how you've made your own money, how you've gone out and hustled so hard, either building your client base or, providing some sort of product that does this amazing service and really fills a void, whether it's like a Post-it note or a Dyson vacuum or whatever, that really serves that purpose. Then you can have a little bit different idea of what success is, because a lot of people put that idea of success as money or material assets and things like that. And then you kind of convolute what your passion is, because, am I passionate about helping and serving people, or am I passionate about making that money from serving people? But if you can get a happy balance of both, where you feel like you're giving and you receive because you're giving, and there's that kind of like, that exactly. Then I think that the passion, I think it morphs. I think passion is always is evolving based on what you're achieving, because you could have multiple passions. I know I've seen a lot of people on their like LinkedIn bio say, I'm a multi-passionate entrepreneur. Sometimes to me that comes across as unfocused, but if you are multi-passionate, then that's great. And you can focus on serving a lot of different people or a lot of different interests that you have. But it also means that you can tap into places where that you're happy, like you have a few different happy places. And that is almost more exciting to know that you can just like dip in and dip out sometimes, than really feeling like you're bogged down by like some overwhelming problem. If you can really dip into those passions, then you can kind of reinvigorate yourself to kind of go back and tackle a major problem in somewhere else, because you've had a chance to recuperate with something else,
Yes, it's true. I completely agree with that. And one question, what would be your ultimate goal? I mean, we talk about all of this, the business, the motivation, the focus, the passion. And when we have all of this together, obviously there is normally for everyone, and this is what everyone as well should do. They should question themselves, what is my ultimate goal? We talked about money might not be the best goal. I mean, it is a goal, but they should be on top of that something else. So what would be that for you?
I think what I would love is if what I'm doing right now with collegeofstyle.com, if that could transition into an actual physical place where it would transition from just being a coaching business to a accredited university, where people could actually go to the College of Style and have it really build itself out from not just branding to actually incorporating a lot of the design degrees that people get, whether it's graphic design, fashion design, things like that. I think that would be the ultimate, is to take it from an online coaching source to an accredited college that people could attend physically, and then sell it for like $100 million.
That sounds really good. And then we are already at the next point, your business, because this is as well very interesting. And I would like to know what does your business, I mean, I know you do coaching, but what does your business exactly do? And
So for
if
what's
anyone,
going to go live in March, is that what you're talking about?
no, the one what you're doing currently.
Oh, currently. So people that I work with, I do one-on-one coaching for them with their personal branding.
Okay.
And that is, and I also help design courses as well. So a lot of people start out and they don't know, like they have expertise, but they don't know how to take their expertise and turn it into an online course. So if they are a dance instructor, but they want to have online classes in a series, I can help them transition that into a platform where they're actually doing either on demand or, you know, things of that nature, but also personal branding. So going through, I was just actually coaching a friend who was creating her own app, and, you know, she was trying to get different clientele to come from her previous business into her new business. And I was helping her design her Facebook group implementation and how to really build out the invitation aspect of it, the engagement aspect of it, because she was very new to Facebook groups, the back end of it to understand how engagement works and how to tag and just the different aspects of Facebook, so that you're not using it just solely to say hi to friends, but to actually use it in a business platform manner. And that was something that I was doing recently. So it kind of spans a lot of different aspects of personal branding, from bringing an idea to a social platform, or taking an existing brick and mortar business to an online course experience. So that's what I do with one-on-one coaching.
So what would be the website, or where could anyone who is interested in this contact you? Because from what I've seen, I'll let you first to say the website and the email address, or where they can catch you.
So anybody can find all of my coaching information on my website. It's at sandracolton-medici.com. And there's a few different, it says, how to work with me, or work with me at the top on the tab. And then it'll drop down and you can see there's guest lecturing, obviously, is something that I do as well as coaching. So there's a few different ways that we can work together.
Okay, that sounds awesome. And why I'm saying this as well, because you are obviously very talented, and there are so many things which came along the way from in college, the groups, the maths groups, afterwards the dancing, your business right now. I'm sure I forgot. So you wrote books. It's there are so many things, and on top of that, if I read it correctly, you speak French.
Oh, un petit peu. Mon mari est français, et c'est la vie. Yeah, I speak very little. I could probably get away with a little conversational French. Yeah, and baby French, because I have a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old, and so they hear me say, ne mange pas, when I'm, don't eat that, like if they're trying a spicy thing, or donna papa dans la cuisine, or whatever, like take that to papa in the kitchen, or, like they hear a lot of that, but not,
Yeah, I speak French as well, so that's why I'm
okay.
No,
so je parle français avec un accent américain.
Je comprends, je te comprends très, très bien.
Oh, merci.
No, it's really good talking to you. This was a very, very informative talk, and amazing that that you have so many things to talk about, and as well the experience that you can give to others. And I really I would say, I would like to thank you for your time with us here, with me. You're not more people.
Well, whoever is watching, thank you for watching, and thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Sandra, and see you soon.
Yes, on the interwebs.
Exactly.